City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Here. Alderman Rainey. Here. Alderman Fisk. Here. Alderman Braithwaite. Here. Alderman Wilson.
Here.
Alderman Holmes. Here. 2, 4, 6, 6.
We have a quorum. Welcome to the Monday, August 1st, 2011 meeting of special City Council meeting. The first item on the agenda is public comment, and if someone would get me this sign-up list, I would be happy to read the names. Thank you. The first and only two speakers are Padma Rao and BK Rao. You each have 3 minutes. And if you would say your name and address, that would be great.
Padma Rao, 2246 Sherman Avenue, regarding the Kendall re-subdivision. My comments have been reviewed and approved by my attorney. I've written and spoken to this council about my concerns, citing authorities in law, science, and logic. This council voted to kill over 24 trees for no reason, to endanger young children and other pedestrians with an alley that dumps traffic onto the narrowest street, and to exclude the public from a matter of public concern through closed-door meetings with the developer. The Evanston Patch reported that an alderman was overheard reassuring the developer's lawyer that the vote would be pushed through regardless of taxpayers' concerns, and that's precisely what this council did. This council ignored its fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers and voted without any justification in the record whatsoever. Such conduct deserves condemnation. The mayor made this council's vote look even less sound by violating our First Amendment rights repeatedly simply because we state facts and law. Contrary to the mayor's claim, public discourse regarding the official conduct of elected aldermen is not a personal attack. It is speech that falls squarely under the First Amendment's protection. It is unconstitutional to stop us from speaking about governmental conduct, including naming names. Last week, I pointed out that it is unethical for Holland & Knight to represent against the city as its former and current client. I presented full information to this council in writing on March 14th, including the applicable rules of professional conduct and case law where courts disqualified lawyers and firms that double represented. This council refused to address the issue, but last week the mayor tried to challenge the facts, so let's review them. Fact: the packet for this council's meeting on March 14th includes the developer's lawyer's letter dated March 10th stating that Holland & Knight was hired to sue the city. Fact: according to the bills list for this council's meeting on March 14th, the city paid Holland & Knight $12,000 for that time period. If the law firm wasn't paid for legal representation of the city, then why did it get these tax dollars? Fact: according to circuit court records, Holland & Knight filed appearance on behalf of the city in Dalton v. City of Evanston in September 2008 and in Joan Daxby's Yakov Elementary School v. City of Evanston in June 2009. Based on these facts, the city was Holland & Knight's current and former client at the time that Holland & Knight was hired to represent against the city, an unethical and impermissible arrangement. In addition, according to the minutes for the council meeting on May 10, 2010, an alderman stated that her son works for Holland & Knight. Is that the reason why this council refuses to address this matter, and why the mayor insisted on mischaracterizing the facts last week? If not, then what is? If this council doesn't want to be criticized, then this council should refrain from violating its duty to the taxpayers and should undo the iniquity already committed. Until then, expect me to keep exercising my First Amendment right to condemn this council's wrongs. See y'all next time.
Thank you. City Manager, would you like to address Holland & Knight?
Certainly, Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening.
You are not allowed to answer during citizen comment. If you want to have an adversarial discussion, then I need to have the ability to rebut. It is not a chance for you to pretend that you know the facts any better than anyone else. The time to answer this was back in March when this whole matter was brought to the council's attention. You chose to act without paying any attention to those facts and without looking into the law.
Your 3 minutes are up, and we do have a tradition in this council.
I don't care about your tradition. It is unconstitutional.
That it is. All right, City Attorney, is it unconstitutional for the City Manager to respond to the issue of Holland & Knight?
It is unconstitutional when you interfere with the right of a citizen to state their unhappiness with governmental action.
Grant, for our corporation counsel, I don't know where Ms. Rao's going, but it's obviously nowhere that's productive. The city manager and the mayor are in charge of these proceedings, not you. Your citizen comment is up. You are limited to 3 minutes. You're through. The city manager may be permitted to speak. The mayor is the presiding officer who has the ability to maintain order and decorum, which extends to you.
It does not extend to violating First Amendment rights, and it does not extend to interfering
now the
with
city
statements
manager's-
regarding political issues
If
and
you would
political
like to know
matters.
the facts about Holland and Knight, why don't you listen to the city manager, and that could clear it up for you.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. As you are aware, the city was represented by Holland and Knight for some time with various legal issues. The former corporation counsel was of counsel to Holland and Knight. He and the firm no longer represented the city. I don't have an exact date off the top of my head, but it was it was at the very end of 2009, the first part of 2010. Mr. Farr, do you have an exact date off the top of your head?
Yes, in March 4th, 2010, the firm of Holland and Knight ceased representing the city in all legal matters, and Mr. Siegel's services were formally terminated at that point in time.
The bill that Ms. Rao mentions is lobbying services that Holland and Knight provided for us out of their Washington, D.C. office, and that concluded on February 28, 2010. So in the 2009 timeframe, they were still on retainer as lobbyists through their Washington office.
Thank you.
It is still unethical to represent against a former client, and you're talking about a matter of
All right,
days.
it is now
Federal
BK Rao's
federal
chance to
advocacy
speak.
is still legal representation. If your lawyer doesn't know that, he needs some CLE.
Thank you very much. Could we have the next speaker, please?
Are you going to try to impeach me also?
I would never try to impeach you.
I would like to let you know that I consulted my attorney and he reviewed and approved my comments. I chose to speak on behalf of the 24 trees that are sentenced to death with the passing of the Kendall property re-subdivision. It is the most appropriate thing to do to speak on behalf of those voiceless trees. I will also bring to your attention that the dangerous alley configuration of the aforementioned re-subdivision project is a threat to the little children in the neighborhood. It also involves the killing of a huge and majestic ash tree, which is of historical importance as it is known to exist since before the city itself. With the loss of this much to the city, why in the world should this council say aye to this project? Who is benefiting from such an ill-advised project? According to the Evanston patch report, one alderman assured the developer's lawyer that she had the votes to push the project through, no matter what the citizens' comment. Why is it that this elected official felt that citizens' comments are irrelevant? Instead of addressing these issues, why is it so important for you to interrupt me several times for speaking about this issue? If you feel it is painful to hear about these genuine concerns of the taxpayers, then reverse the decision you made. Do the right thing. Do not try to silence me or dictate to me what I should and should not say. I know exactly what I should say, and I will not stop saying it. I'll be back, and I still have time.
Thank you very much. That concludes citizen comment. City Manager, the next item on the agenda is fiscal year 2011 financial update.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, at your July 18th meeting, the council asked that we put over, because of the lateness of hour, these three items, the fiscal 2011 financial update, resolution amending the operating budget for the current year, and then a review of the proposed calendar for budget preparation for 2012. So we have these three items. We also have an executive session scheduled. We would hope to complete the presentation and any question that you'd have, probably in the next 55 minutes, and then leave a few minutes for the executive session before Human Services is scheduled at 7:30. So unless there are any initial questions, Marty Lyons, the Assistant City Manager, Interim Administrative Services Director, City Treasurer, and all-around good guy, is here this evening with the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. City Manager, Madam Mayor, Mr. City Clerk. Thank you very much, and members of council. As a follow-up to our recent meeting, we actually originally presented a May 31st, but in the intervening time, we were able to pull together the June 30th numbers. So without any ado, I'm going to go through these numbers and just a little, at the end, just a little wrap-up of where we see we're at for the 2011 year. So we are at 40%, so you won't see us referring to quarters in a 10-month year. That's a hard thing to do, so we'll continue with any updates to refer to that. Revenues are still a little bit above budget, and expenses are fairly well below budget at this point, mainly because of the seasonality in the general fund. We still, we did start off with the summer plan a little earlier than expected, but we are just now seeing the results in June of the first month of our summer help, including all of the youth programs and all of our temporary programs in Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. So that 33.8% or a 6.2 variance, that gap will close as we go through the year. And as you can see, we are, I think, doing a little bit better, though, overall. At the same point in time last year, we did not have quite the same surplus at $5.2 million compared to $4.4 million last year. So this, I don't need to go through the graphic in detail. I'll just say on a positive side, sales tax is tracking right at budget, and that's given the up and down news about the economy, we're doing well. Income tax, while I would like to be happy about the fact that it's above budget, the distributions of income tax are not a even monthly distribution throughout the year. It has a lot to do with the income tax cycle of collections at the state. So it being above budget is great news, but it will also most likely come back to right around budget. License permits and fees are below budget, but that's also symptomatic to the seasonality. We hope to see greater permit activity in July, August to bring that back up.
Mr. Lyons, Alderman Rainey has a question.
Marty, just, I don't want to talk too much about bad news, but you mentioned the state and the state income tax. I'm wondering, have you noticed any sluggishness or delays of any kind in receiving state money?
They have maintained the level of delay that they've had for the past 18 months plus. So we're still at about 4 months behind, so it hasn't gotten any worse.
That's what I really meant.
Yep. So they've maintained their payment schedule. So I do believe the stability has helped them out immensely to stay on track. There's still, the level of bills and arrears of the state is still staggering as far as how far behind they are with their own regular bill payment.
Madam Mayor, one more question.
Go
I
ahead.
noticed that we single out in revenues the liquor tax, but we don't do the same with the cigarette tax. And I know it's projected to be a lot less. I'm wondering, and I saw it on the next page, the cigarette tax, but is that tracking?
I don't believe cigarette tax has recovered to where it was, but I'll get an answer for you in a follow-up. It still remains lower than prior to a year and a half ago when we raised the liquor tax. The volume is still down substantially.
You mean, what are you talking about? I'm talking
The
about
actual sales
of liquor.
of cigarettes.
Cigarettes,
Yeah,
that's
the
right.
sale of cigarettes is down, and our revenue is actually down below what it was when the tax was less. The tax rate
Could
was
you-
less.
Yeah, I know that we talked about the tipping point, et cetera. It doesn't look, I mean, I'm looking on page, whatever it is, I don't see a page on this, the general fund as of June 30th, 2011. It's the next page.
And I
Where
actu-
it's showing, when you get to that, would you just talk about it for a minute?
Now,
'Cause
that's
it's
the,
singled out.
Right, that's in the packet, and if, Curtis, if you could go to the other file that's up.
I believe it's page 8 of the packet.
So yes, but
Oh, yeah,
I
it's
actually
page 8.
will need to go downward, or actually, I'm sorry, up
Yeah.
on this to page 8 of the packet.
It's about the middle tax showing there.
Here you go.
And so, sorry, could you zoom that up to about,
And last year, 2010, that was for 12 months. This is
Correct.
for 10 months, so, yeah, it looks like it's sort of keeping pace.
but I mean, as of a year to date, if we were looking at 4 months in, they should still be similar to each other. That hasn't changed, but it's how well we're doing as a ratio compared to budget. I think we're doing a little bit better.
Yeah.
We also know that the real estate transfer tax will not include the large sale that happened during the month of July. So when that comes through, that will help that budget out as well.
Big time. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
If you can jump back to the PowerPoint,
Sorry.
that's all right. Thank you for the questions.
Alderman Tendem had a question.
Oh, we have it right here. I didn't-
Thank you. Going back to license permits and fees, you did say that was lagging behind. Certainly, it's less than 25%. What happens in the next 5 months that
The biggest thing is the vehicle stickers. That's the large one that will be $1.5, $1.6 million of vehicle stickers that will occur in November, December. So that is the biggest license, if you will, that we have.
Okay. It still seems like it's going to be quite off.
Well, I mean, we also have, in there is included elevator and our elevator license. We have a variety of them, and I'd be happy to, it's fairly easy to break that one out and just send it in a Friday packet of where we see the licensing to the council's direction.
And on page 8, Madam Mayor, Alderman Tendem, you see a little bit of the breakdown on page 8 with the licenses and fees, so. I think building permit, I mean, one of the other wild cards is with building permit fees. We do our best to estimate what those might be. There's not a lot of large construction going on, so mostly it's small fees. The large construction projects normally come from our larger employers, Northwestern probably being first among them. And I think we've
two
not seen.
hospitals.
Excuse me?
The two hospitals.
In addition. We've not seen the kind of activity. There's still a music school building that the university has plans in for, but does not have a time frame for construction. So I think that comes into play as well. So we continue to monitor it. Again, it's with 10 months, it's hard to slice. To give you pictures of things because, as Marty had said, we don't have the quarters to deal with. So we think we're finally, from this point forward, I think we have at least numbers we can talk about intelligently. But there's still a lot of question marks here as we sit here in the 1st of August.
Alderman Holmes, yes.
Do the school districts have to have building permits, and do they pay for them?
The school districts I believe the school districts do pay on the permits, but they are not subject to our regulation as far as the actual, inspection process. So I know that they're not treated the same because the school code allows them to operate once we're on their property, they're not subject to our code.
I was just wondering about the permits because I know that they're doing a lot of remodeling and work in their school buildings.
Generally, there's not a lot of money coming from that.
No, but I will respond if we have anything.
That is one of the interesting things about Northwestern, though, is that as I meet with other Big Ten city managers, we're the only community in the Big Ten that receives building permit revenue. All the public schools are exempt, and so all the construction that happens at other, at least Big Ten campuses, the city receives nothing. In some cases, yes, and in some cases, no.
And Alderman Rainey, you had asked, the Royce Moore building permit had not been pulled as of June 30, and that's approximately $8 million on the construction side, so it'll be a fairly substantial permit. Any other questions on the revenue?
Alderman Rainey, go ahead.
I mean, the reason that some are obsessed by the revenues is because this is the answer to our prayer, other non-property tax revenues. So that's why it's so important, which you, of course, know. But, I mean,
And that is
while
what-
it might seem to some that dickering about $100,000 here or $200,000 there on a revenue item isn't a big deal, when you add those all together, that's what pays the bills. I mean, the budget, the general fund is just a minuscule part of our revenue, and we could not function as a city with the general fund. So when we complain about our property tax, we'd really be complaining if we didn't exceed some of our revenue projections, and hopefully we'll exceed them in all cases. So
And that is why the Economic Development Committee and staff have been working as hard as they have to try and boost those revenues. This is just a summary that we've already really talked about. Just to be aware, we've been coming in about 96 to 97% on the property tax, which is low for us. And every 1% is worth $160,000 in the general fund. So part of the economic downturn is a little bit lower collection of taxes. We do put in a loss and cost percentile at 2%, but it's not covering the amount of uncollected property tax so far.
Alderman Rainey?
Sorry, but this just popped into my head. When property taxes are sold, and not just up for sale, but sold, and the taxes are purchased by a tax buyer, are those taxes then distributed to the taxing bodies, or are they held in an escrow until the defaulted taxpayer comes up with the payment? Does anybody know?
Alderman Rainey, I think you are correct, but I would like to get you a more
No,
complete
what-
answer.
I'm not correct. I don't have any idea what the answer is.
No, I think it is held in some sort of escrow, but I would like to get you a more complete answer. So we'll take that as a question for
Let's
Friday
hope
packet.
that's totally wrong.
We'll get you an absolutely correct answer.
And just to understand how it does work, in any given year, we will get, if we are getting $16 million in property taxes, we may get $200,000 to $400,000 in prior year property taxes also collected. So we do break those out. I think it might even be broken out on page 8. I'm not sure, but we do break it out. Nope, it's right at the top. We don't break it out. But we do have a separate account, and we could show a history of that if desired, but that's where we would catch those previous sales. Again, as we noted, real estate transfer tax is right on target right now, and it should boost up over the top with that large sale. And again, while you can't be too happy about something meeting budget, but sales tax at budget, I'm very happy, given what other folks are facing with more luxury good items. I think our plan for downtown activity in the other business districts is paying off with some very stable sales tax. We've already talked about this. So going to the expenditure side, again, 33.8%. And for the most part, all of this is operating, and we don't have a lot of transfers leaving the general fund, some for fleet that are on a monthly basis, but at 33.8%, we know that police, fire, and Parks, Recreation, Community Service will come up a little bit, as well as Public Works when we hit the first part of the snow season. And we did budget 1 month of snow season in there as far as overtime and expenses of that nature. But that was one of the benefits of the 10-month year, was that January and February dropped off into 2012. I've already talked about the seasonal nature. We did start the patrol details early this year. I've already hit that. Other funds, just for our major enterprise funds, We are moving along. Water is a little bit below budget, and that's to be expected given what we'll see. The June billing month, which we'll collect in August, should be much higher than budget. That was a very dry month. Same with sewer. We should come back a little bit on those revenues. And we're managing to budget as far as water, especially some of the, and I'll get to this in a minute, some of the capital projects are just firing off now, so that 23.4% in water will start to catch up. But we, as I'll note later, we do anticipate coming in under budget in those. Enterprise fund highlights, as I noted before, water and sewer, the revenues will come up quite a bit when we hit August, September, and October. Those are when we receive the months billed in June, July, August. Of course, July, we had the wettest July on record, so that doesn't bode well for those two funds. And as projected, we did project solid waste to be in a deficit for the year, and we do anticipate that our revenues will be higher in the fall as appropriate to the yard waste collection. So what to look for, delays in receipts from the state or on income tax or property taxes from Cook County. We have heard nothing in the way of delay from our new county board representatives, so hopeful that we'll be on track to not have that delay again. With the change in our fiscal year, that's important to us. Going to a calendar year. The sewer fund and water fund will still have, I think, overall a lower volume, and that's why we have provided that 5-year plan showing that slowly decreasing volume. The building and other permit revenue, we are, as the city manager noted, looking to see if anything happens at NU, but that is a wait and see. And then grant receipts, I think we're in better shape than we were a few days ago, since they've passed, or they're potentially going to pass their legislation at the federal level. We don't have to worry about some unforeseen holdups in our grant receipts. And I wouldn't see this at CDBG level, but we certainly might see it in some of our other grants where what we thought was our timetable is not, and we're hopeful that that's not going to be the case now. We will watch excuse me, payroll and overtime expenses as we wind down the summer, and then capital projects will be an issue to look at if we do a October report when we send the budget to council on October 7th, an update for where we're at in 2011. We'll have a better handle on capital projects that will finish in 2011 and those that will be rolled over to 2012. So where are we overall? Revenues we're projecting to come in slightly below budget, and I think that mostly is due to property tax and building permits. Hopeful building permits will come back, but I don't see property taxes doing anything too different than the continued 96, 97% collection rate. So that's going to be something we'll need to factor in as we go forward on budgeting. General fund expenses. We started off the year a little early in some of the police overtime. That may have a slight impact, but we are hoping to come in right at budget on the expense side. The other funds, water, sewer, parking, as you may recall, we just started the $2.1 million parking project, so it's unlikely that that project will get completely accomplished before December 31st. There are a few other projects in water similar to that, so I would anticipate those funds staying under budget. We also have equipment purchases in fleet that have longer than a 6-month lead time, so it's also possible that the fleet fund will be under budget, and we will take a look at that to see how much of those capital expenses can also be turned over into the next year. Overall, barring any of those external circumstances with the state or federal government, we think we're in a very stable position overall. Just one other side note, we did close on our bonds today successfully, so the $19.2 million bond issue was closed on with no issues. We have already segregated funds such that the sewer dollars are in the sewer spot, and we have the refunding amounts segregated as well, and the capital projects fund has the sufficient funds to accomplish the CIP.
Alderman Rainey?
The debt ceiling bill just passed Congress, 2.4 trillion ceiling.
Thank you for that
Just
information.
telling you. I'm looking up the vote now.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Lyons other than those he's already answered? Thank you very much.
Next, Madam Mayor, members of the council, item 4 is Resolution 39R11. This would amend the fiscal year 2011 budget, increasing the appropriation by $9,600,984 from $198,910,258 to $208,511,242. This amendment is for the inclusion of carryover projects in the capital improvement program, inclusion of the Ward Manufacturing Development Project, and an adjustment to cover the cost for repair of the 3 downtown parking decks as approved by the council on July 25th. No new tax revenue is required to fund this amendment, and this amendment does not increase any general operating expenses. Again, this is a cleanup document. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Approval's been moved. Is there a second? Approval has been moved and seconded for Resolution 39R11, amending the fiscal year 2011 budget. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Aye. Alderman Rainey. Aye. Alderman Fisk.
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye. Aye.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the last item is the review of the fiscal year 2012 budget calendar, and that's found on page 55 of your budget packet. We plan to come back to you next Monday evening on August 8th with a fairly comprehensive review of the city service evaluation that we did. As you recall, we've been working on a plan to rate all of our city services based on a number of different factors. That rating has been completed. There is backup data evaluating each of those services, and Brandon, the final number was 94, 95, 84, 85? 96. So we have ranked the 96 services based on that criteria. There'll be backup documentation for that. We've also have been doing work on what was 39 issues. The council eliminated one as 38 issues. That will also be coming back to you on the 8th. The supporting documentation is about 300 pages, more than that. How much more?
Closer to double.
Almost 600 pages of backup. So what we've done is we've boiled it down into two-page spreadsheets with 600 pages of backup. And so that will travel as a separate document. It will be the basis of the next round of community engagement processes, and those are also detailed here. So the idea is we'll present all this information on the 8th. We'll allow you and the community to soak it all in, and then we're proposing to have 2 community workshops to get feedback on this process, one on Saturday, September the 17th, and a second on Thursday, September 22nd. If you might recall from 2 budgets ago, we retained the services of a woman named Lynn Montai. She has agreed to help us once again, and she'll be facilitating those workshops on the 17th and 22nd. We'll also be coming back to the council on September 12th to do the annual review of city council goals. On Monday, September 26th, a mid-year budget review, sort of an extension of the presentation that Mr. Lyons made with some additional information. We'll then plan to have the proposed fiscal year 2012 budget to you no later than Friday, October the 7th. We've then scheduled 2 budget hearings with the council, budget discussions with the council, one for Saturday, October the 15th, and the second for Saturday, October 29th. Then the formal public hearing on the budget would be on Monday, November the 14th. Then an optional meeting on Wednesday, November 16th. That then takes us, the following week is a regular council meeting, or excuse me, the following week is not a regular council meeting, but it is Thanksgiving, which is a little different than what we've had in past years. So the Monday, November 28th meeting is then the Monday after Thanksgiving, and hopefully if all is in order, then the budget be prepared for adoption and the tax levy adoption as well on the 28th, and then the abatement approved on December the 12th. So we think this is all doable. The next big section of the budget process would begin next week on the 8th with the review of the service assessment, as well as additional work, sharing of the additional work that were done on the 39, now 38 areas. And then hopefully have the community take that in and provide us comments during the month of September leading up to the proposed budget in October. Be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? So you want us to adopt the proposed budget calendar. Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded to adopt the fiscal year 2012 proposed budget calendar. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The calendar passes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is adopted. Alderman Wilson?
I have a motion pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes. I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel and minutes. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. These exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2A, C1, and C21.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Tindem. Aye. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fisk. Aye. Alderman Braithwaite. Aye. Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Holmes.
Aye.
6-0.
6-0. We are going into executive session.